Right. So the recording will start soon. All right. So welcome everyone. Gesla is wondering if someone can come forward. Probably it's going to be you, Shannon, and just say a few words about this event, the meaning of this event, and what we're doing here. So maybe come a little bit closer so that we will be able to hear you.
Hello, everyone.
Can you come? Actually, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you, everyone, for coming to join us for this first kind of religious response to climate change happening at Chenrezig that I'm aware of. Today is a global call out about climate change and the response to COVID-19, and it's called Sacred People, Sacred Earth. There's basically a list of requests that the institutions of different religious backgrounds are asking for people to come together and ask for, including renewable energy, finance that has compassionate values, jobs and healthcare for all people, respect for indigenous rights, welcome for climate migrants affected by climate change, net zero emissions by 2030, the end to the planet's damage, the elimination of immoral finance, just contributions from wealthy countries, and bold faith community leadership. So today we've asked Geshe Siltram to just say a few words on the Buddhist view of climate change, and Lindsay and his son Liam will give us a walk around Chenrezig just to connect us with the environment that we have here and connect us with these ideas and issues. Thank you.
All right. Until Dila, Danda Zambolin, Namshi, the Giwad can draw it off, and he meet and send down to the number kick it off, and he has some didn't so Mambochi Chuzum Mambochi Chulim in Jarton, Ditola Chachi Chena, Kechachi Shena, then the Miuto Divis. Tadi example in Namshi Gua drone, any sentient Tundro Dila Noba Jama Maboyo. Ne number chutone Namshi Gua duetola Camo de Suntuenas.
Welcome everybody. Ani me Kasoda Italia Kame Sikashi Shina Jigdosra Pigitachi Nambi Subsort de Kimardania and Chicken Missinamolaya and number Sanji Richard that you Janyovenza and did that D Zambeling and a queue layachi Pento Kariame and Zambeling queue Juton Drayagi Gigin Zudi and Nambi shown in Windsor Karchi Metolia. And Naranton Zuchik, you are thingy Shinatic series.
So Geshe will say a few words about this topic, but he's not seeing himself as the representative of the Buddhist tradition speaking about climate change, but still having studied and trained for many years in the Buddhist tradition, and also looked at the way that the Buddhist tradition refers or relates to the environment and how causes and conditions that are created do affect the environment around us. Geshe thought of saying a few words.
Dinzada, Jedangi and Sanjamdendi, Lajikyongi, and Tao Denjong than Chobatamrasat. Sungdus, Tao Denjong's land, Nguyen is to kind of tea, Shindo Chungoya. 아니 직접 체험해서 나온 이게 지 간지 코육 잠마세 지금 무슨 경험 준비해야지 내 체내비기 아니 자와 치고도 삼로 딘지 키고도 대성도스라.
The teachings of the Buddha, the Bhagavan, come down to two aspects. There is the aspect of the philosophical view of dependent origination, which explains how things exist in reality in an actual sense. That's the philosophical view. And then we have the practice of non-harmfulness. And non-harmfulness is not extended just to the environment around us in the sense of or to trees and so forth, but also in consideration of everything that lives, even as far as the smallest insect. We seek to develop a practice and a behavior that seek to not inflict harm on any living being.
nanzu dwa mi ani semkam la ya zo tu de chetang bi kuyu pi ji ani jong gyo do ya di ani koran gyu ran shin ji za yo do gu yo de ne ya ji koran gi pi ji kaso da ji se da ma song na be ani manyam ba ji gyo shu gyo dong do ya di ani nanzu mi cha ju la ya tu de ba ji this song dos ti ya ya dong in sa sang dos ra.
So we seek not to harm other living beings. We harm other living beings in a variety of ways, and we also harm them through harming the environments that sentient beings live within. So the ways that we inflict harm upon others essentially depend upon our state of mind. The harm that we inflict upon each other, you can say across this different realms of existence, the 6 realms of existence, basically depends upon our mentality. So we live in an environment that depends upon the element. It has arisen from the elements, and the elements are impermanent, and as such, they are subject to change. This is the nature of change. However, through our activities as human beings, we're accelerating that change.
가지 중바이냐 돈도 구도 삼성기 총 미시비 영웅기 왕기 아니 코유 톨라 로기야바디 야자야다 말레스 라페나 간주 제 키로치게 아니 미치리야 페 돈타치기 칼란 당기 제 당기 요바이나 디피기지 아니 체가서 치주 체가 쳬라마도 두스탄샤바이나 안 제디 돈타치무기 니마치리야 칼란 당한지 마차 차도라스 Then I think another something the Dodo Chujo Digi and the Joan City Zoya Yugich. Pejit in Zoya Yugich. That the Soso Gola Magola and Peju Yola Melaya and Bemegi Peju Chejavana Zoto Imbaras. Ding unto me Chiri of the Dustada Soso Yachi Gola Mogola Peju Mambu Shochedaj. And it Tuja page channel, motor page channel, non page channel, beddy, and Pameg page channel, Zambling Kuya, shoot new of Gassigatamaros. D. Nambishonlia, Dom Gawdi, Shoshi Godos, Diva Jikitolia, Dixajil Shag with the mother, beddy, Semevaji, Drew Devina, Zambling Neondi, usually social nearly, Gassigatamaros. This song goes, Dombro directions.
And when we say that the harm that we inflict upon one another and the harm that we inflict upon the environment are based on our mentalities as living beings, essentially it depends upon not finding satisfaction in whatever we do, not knowing how to look for satisfaction, not understanding what does bring about satisfaction. We try to find ways in order to develop that unyielding satisfaction within us, and through that we inflict harm upon others and also the environment. And we can see that in a variety of things that we can do. In some sense, if we use an analogy to explain that, we can say that if you have a bag of rice, 1 kilogram of rice, and it's supposed to last for a whole week. If you become heedless in the way that you measure the rice, if you burn half of it, you scattered parts of what remains, you're not going to have rice that will last for 1 week. And in some sense, we can say that this is what we're doing to the environment in heedlessly utilizing resources which are not unlimited. We live in a world with limited resources. So this world derived from the elements which are in the nature of change, it consists of things which are limited. And yet in our unsatisfaction, with an attitude that cannot find satisfaction, we are behaving as if we're enjoying unlimited resources. So in terms of the cars that we use, the petrol that is used, to fuel our cars, when we travel to different places, when we use different things, when we invent different technologies, when we invent different machineries, the underlying motivation or mentality for that is one that does not know any satisfaction. It knows no satisfaction. And that is strongly linked to the basis of the Buddha, the teaching of the Buddha. This attitude is 100% detrimental to ourselves, to others, and the environment. This unconscientious way of utilizing resources is harmful. And the Buddhist teaching are aiming at developing a greater degree of satisfaction, thinking that actually what I have now is okay. It is all right. I do not necessarily need more than what I have now, in keeping in mind that we are living in an environment with limited resources. So if we do not develop that sense of restraint based upon developing a greater degree of satisfaction, that will still continue to unfold. The Buddhist teaching also has to do with developing a greater degree of satisfaction. And Geshe feels that these teachings are directly related to coming up with ways of coping with climate change. Thinking of factories and production lines that produce so many things for us as human beings, things that we do not need. Regardless of whether we need them or not, those businesses are trying to come up with ways to convince us that we do need them. Because if we don't have them, we'll still remain with that degree of dissatisfaction. So you might have one car. They will try to convince you that you need more than one, that you need 2 or 3, and so forth. So many of the things that we consume are based on this promotion of an attitude that finds no satisfaction.
아니 kuyu peju chechen so de juya dabandara sowa tayanda chia maji di ton kankanza pengus kyananzo ina di deshin gipe ani gola mogola rig de zawa ni manyo aina zoten tengu maras kundu pesa trola doras ro tadi kaya khabu shuradas kanji yingyu dini yungudus kuyu trola raya zodi ani zote chiri chechen da yungu yoba jasi yadam maras Then on the Mitchell Chigio Marta, the two of the Canlegas, Dungam sing the ton, Choshi never the ton. Mother Jing and the Shindon Kashi Chandra, the chick, and did some gi 아니 kuyu chola rosaji remodos kuyu chola rezodi mi peju chedan rally dedos ro modern shuji peju chibana ti tolanga soba ani namka latini ani longzama mewa chabra ti toni chi ani khangrala soba ani shudra ani chawa cherra ani dindi kanjaredos da kanji chawa thatuba di sanji sunga chana ani mi samkam le tu dishas.
So in that vein, when you look at the life of monastics, monks and nuns, then this life is based upon trying to limit the resource that we use, right? So rather than trying to come up with a fleet of cars that we might keep and different sets of clothing and different products and things and makeup and jewelry and so forth, we limit the things that we use. So this is at least kind of the lifestyle of monastics. So then similarly, for those who are not monastics, we actually reckon that if you think about this lifestyle and try to adopt as much as you can according to your own ability, a behavior which finds a greater degree of satisfaction, limiting the things that you use, limiting your consumption, Geshe feels that will have a tremendous effect on the environment. So when we look at a behavior that finds no satisfaction, that is not satisfied that is controlled by great desire, then it brings about more pollution created by cars and petrol, creating the melting of icebergs, bringing about extreme weather events and so forth. So of course, we can look at the protection of the environment and try to take physical actions which are quite physical in protecting forests, trees, and so forth. But Geshe feels that essentially it has to run deeper than that. It has to deal with a state of mind that finds no satisfaction. So if you want to bring about a more effective way of or effective response to climate change, it has to begin with looking at that state of mind and trying to develop a greater degree of satisfaction and curbing down us great desires to more production, more product, and more things that we consume.
사람들 때는 벤주 요새기 롱벤 나가는데 아니 배치 메초게 배는 니마치려야 돌로 니숨 지워자고 해야 된다. 돌자치가 나와야 돌로 담을 되게 망부시오지 지워자고 해야 된다. 그 되게 자기요 말에 되게 쉐요 말에 크게 체험을 싸워 되냐 그 지워져야 되고 해야지. 뒤조 샘을 투로 왔어.
And much of the harm to the environment is inflicted by those who have a greater access to resources, to wealth, and so forth. Someone that might be poor or has limited resources will not inflict a lot of damage on the environment. It's mostly those that have the means to consume, to utilize things around them, beginning with even set of clothing. Some people change the clothing twice or three times a day, buying a few sets of clothes every week. So the sense of consumerism, which inflicts a lot of damage on the environment, it's found amongst those who have a greater access to resources.
이내야 니 포야를 자원이 쇼면서 뭐였는지 다지 아주 원래 탄데 당한주다 잠블린디 아니지 안 자라진지를 그리고 그유토니 디 참에 통과했다 디 송교 진되어요 봐나 아니 안주지 배제 제약이 용스 제거했디 기체시 되려다서라.
Anyway, Geshe made a few points, and it might be that some of them were a little bit confrontational. So if you do feel a bit hurt, then Geshe says that was not his intention. But really, the main point is that we are living in a time of emergency, climate emergency. And Geshe personally feels that one way of dealing with that on a personal level is start to limit the things that we consume.
여러분 지금 송요스. 여러분 지금 쇼바 아니 샘 트루 카둘이야. 쇼 글라스 카운슬 렌시니 디긴 당화치기스. 여러분 지금 꾸제 나눠려야 지 비기 ชุด디 쳔부는 싸니 안디나마 니에친 베지치야 딩이 싸우니 메지야 아니 켈렌치스 kuyu tolya o dindi nangi songyores nganzo da diso nganzo lamden ros ra.
And it starts with small things, like, for example, his honest Dharma says that in the morning when he brushes his teeth, he, rather than switching on the tap and just letting the water flow, he just puts in a glass the right amount of water that will be sufficient. When he takes a bath, rather than lying in a lavish bath, he just takes a quick shower. So it starts with small actions like that, making sure that what we consume is measured. Geshe feels that that's a really good advice, a really good approach to that.
Nakazana dinmaji nganzo digi Lotus House said that dinmaji roiro and nalogi midengi cheo ma nongor samma tangshi dero.
Dila gyumsanchi.
아니 다 윤진지 다 장고 다 지를 하셔도 돼. 다 두소지 다 가주스로 배주죠. 디저 kuyu 뉴거스 변나.
So for example, Geshe went for a walk one day and he saw that in the motel room, all the fans were on, although no one was staying over there. So of course it's wasteful in terms of electricity. Yeah, I said that there is a reason for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you
very much. Yeah, anyway, Geshe said he'll leave it here for now because the more he speaks, the more objection he will get. So another part of the of our response would be to recite 3 times the mantra of dependent arising. Would you like to come closer, or I'll put it on the screen? Maybe if we all recite it together, we're still going to hear it. Actually, I'm wondering, is that what you have, Chukina? Okay.
Yeah, I'll pronounce it as is the latest pronunciation.
Yeah, you pronounce it as you pronounce it. So that's the mantra of dependent origination, and the meaning of the mantra is mentioned. It is translated here. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes as well is taught by the great seer.
Okay, just before we recite it 3 times, in the second line, there's the yo and the ni. So we take a pause there, otherwise it means something completely different. So there's a little bit of a break in that one between the yo and the ni.
Between the yo
and the ni. All right, just follow me, in other words. I'll maybe do it a bit slowly if this is new to people. Yeah. Om ye dhamma hetu prabhava hetan teken tata gata hayo vade teken sayo nirodha evam vali mahashramane ye swaha. Om ye dhamma hetu prabhava hetan teken tata gata hayo vade teken sayo nirodha evam vali mahashramane ye swaha. Om ye dhamma hetu prabhava hetan teken tata gato hayo vade teken sayo nirodha evam vade mahashramane ye swaha. Okay, thank you. That was 3.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next.
So thank you very much, everyone, for coming, for joining this important activity. So we will now go down to the cafe and have some refreshments, and after that Master Lindsay and Liam will take us on a round around the property to look at the beautiful bush environment, also under threat because of climate change.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Geshe.